So, if you know me, you know that I like a lot of online comics. And there's this comic on Instagram called Mimi and Mumu, created by Mia Love World. Although, I guess it's more of a short video comic, since most of their content consists of short video clips. So, I don't know what I'd call this genre. But I like it. I like Mimi and Mumu. But I'm not talking about the story of Mimi and Mumu in this video, I'm talking about the art style. So for anyone who hasn't seen or heard of Mimi or Mumu, you're fine. While I definitely recommend checking it out, you don't have to know the story to understand this video. It's mainly about the art style change. So to get into the art style everyone is hating on right now, we have to go back to the very start. This was the first art style Mia Love World had for their story of Mimi and Mumu, and I personally really like it. It's a great cutesy minimalist art style, but they make sure to use different shapes and color choices to differentiate the two characters, such as Mumu having sharper, longer ears, compared to Mimi's more rounded, short ones, and Mumu having white line art, while Mimi has black line art. I mean, Mimi's cheeks are even more rounded than Mumu's. These are all great ways to differentiate characters, especially when the art style is pretty minimalist. And I think that's why these two characters stood out to people. They were a perfect balance of both simplistic and interesting. And then around a year later, we got a style change, into the style that's arguably the most recognizable for Mimi and Mumu. It's not necessarily better, though. I'd even go as far to say that it actually got worse, compared to the first art style. Not that I hate it by any means, I still like this art style, and it's still a lot better than the art style to come, but I just think that it lost a lot of its initial charm. They made Mimi and Mumu way more round and smooth looking, somehow, making the art style even more simplistic than before. They completely took away Mumu's sharp ears, which, while a small thing, it added a great amount of charm to his character. I mean, even the expressions were simplified. Look at how Mumu looked when he was angry in the first art style, and look at him now. He's supposed to be mad, but it's just so simplified that it doesn't get that across nearly as well. Also, not to mention, they took away Mumu's white line art that made him really stand out against the other characters. So yeah, while I don't hate this art style, it was kind of a downgrade from the last one. And for a while, they stuck with this art style, and it wasn't that bad by any means. I mean, they at least knew how to differentiate the characters enough that you could tell them apart. An example being Mimi's friends. They had different features to help stand them out, such as the tan cat having longer ears versus the purple cat having shorter ears, and their eyes also have different shapes from each other. So yes, while being more simple, this new art style still achieved the goal of making their characters stand out and not have same-face syndrome. But I can't say the same for the next art style. So back in July, Mia Love World announced that they'd be making a comeback in October, which really hyped a lot of fans up for what was to come. So of course, with it now being October, they have changed the art style again for Mimi and Mumu, and have essentially done a rebrand for the story. Like, they're retelling it again for some reason. If I had a nickel for every time an Instagram comic I liked did a rebrand, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice. Anyways, I'm not talking about the story of Mimi and Mumu in this video, just the art style. And let's just say people are not happy about the new art style, for good reasons, that I'll get into soon. But first, let's look at some of the comments because seeing all the backlash is honestly what made me want to make this video. And like, not all the backlash is even meant to be mean, a lot of it is just genuine criticism. First comment. A little critique about the new style. As cute as it is, they now lack unique silhouettes and look too repetitive. Second comment. Almost wondering if this new design is rage bait. Third comment. Alright y'all, I'll take my leave here. No hate, I truly love Mia Love and the story they created, but this new art style just no longer appeals to me. Somehow with the old animation and old style, it felt like it had a deeper meaning. I know maybe the old style sucked, but they were more appealing to us because the story and the expressions. Despite the old animation having many errors and appearing blurry a lot, we loved it. This new design looks more for kids inside a Toco Life game. It's your channel and your art, so do whatever makes you most comfortable or happy. Alls I know is meowts. Fourth comment. As an artist, I know how discouraging it is to work so hard on something just to hear complaints after it's released, but I also have to agree with the feedback. Bigger subtitles, vertical framing, and giving them a bit of unique silhouettes would really improve the overall feeling. I see where you're coming from with the heart-shaped heads, but it does look a little off when they turn their head. I'd suggest a slight separation on the ears and a tiny bit of pointiness on them. Please don't be discouraged. The fact that we've grown so attached to the characters is proof you're a wonderful storyteller. All in all, these comments I've chosen to share are pretty tame. but they all bring up something important. That's the fact that the old art style was better and that the new one lacks charm and originality. There are many comments. I just pulled a few of the ones that I personally resonated with, other than the rage bait one. I just found that kind of funny. Even if the person genuinely thought this new art style was rage bait, that's sorta a bad sign in itself. Anyways, I'll get into my thoughts about this new art style because I definitely have my own thoughts. I don't like the new art style for Mimi and Mumu, and I have my reasons for it. They took away Mimi's iconic eyelashes and little ears, and Mumu's iconic longer ears. They gave them both butt ears, as people are calling them. I mean, you'd be crazy to not admit it's kind of a butt shape on their heads. It looks pretty bad, especially when you compare it to how their ears looked beforehand. But, believe it or not, the ears looking like butts isn't the problem. The problem is the fact they look identical now. Mimi and Mumu look the exact same in every way other than their color schemes, of course. This is an example of bad character design. They give off same face syndrome, which is when characters have identical faces to each other. Plus, even their body shapes are the exact same, making it all the worse. They are essentially the same character if you just take away the colors, and this extends to all the other characters too, which is really bad when you need to differentiate your characters. One of their new video shorts included 3 new characters, a mom, a dad, and their child. And I'm not even kidding, someone genuinely thought these 3 characters were in a poly relationship. Just for the fact all the characters have same face syndrome, plus their body types also all look the same. So this person couldn't tell their ages apart, and therefore assumed it was a poly couple, which is bad because, as I just said, it was meant to be a mom, dad, and their child. So in this instance, having this art style, this very simplistic, every character looks the same style, is terrible, because it can easily create confusion between the characters, which is so bad when you're trying to tell a story with your characters. Not to mention the fact Mia Love World said this new rebranded story was going to be deeper and more refined than the original story. But it's hard to achieve that when the art style was simplified so much that it looks like it's for children. For anyone who doesn't know, Mimi and Mumu's story revolves around their relationship, and it goes over both of the characters and their toxic traits, highlighting that not every relationship is perfect, and that sometimes, at a certain point, even if you love someone, it might not be worth it to keep dating them. Although they sort of went against that narrative when they tried to bring the two back together. I low-key didn't like that. I thought they should just both move on and find their own paths. Like, Mimi and Mumu were toxic, okay? Anyways, my point is, even though all of Meow Love's art styles were simple, this one takes the cake and stoops to an even lower level. It just looks like it's geared towards kids, which again, doesn't fit the story of Mimi and Mumu, especially if they're going for a more deep and serious story. I hate to say it, but these two do not fit that vibe anymore. It's not an art style that should be used in this way, but that doesn't mean this kind of art style is always bad. It's just being used wrong. It would be untrue for me to say it can't be used in any setting. I think this new art style for Mimi and Mumu is great for a more corporate art style, one that uses these characters as a brand, for logos, merch, commercials, promotional materials. You get the point. It just doesn't work for the relationship story of Mimi and Mumu. So all in all, this new art style change has a lot of problems, and a lot of people aren't fans of it, for valid reasons, as I've went over in this video. Now, at the end of the day, I genuinely feel bad for Meow Love. Working hard on art only to hear people complain isn't a nice feeling. So even though I don't like this new art style of theirs, I'm sorry that Meow Love is experiencing all of this hate towards their art style. Because, like I always say, giving criticism is one thing, but giving hate is another thing. So please, to anyone watching this video, don't give them any hate. While, in my opinion, everyone should be allowed to give their opinions and criticism, being hateful is just mean, so don't do that. It's not cool. But what I do want to hear is your thoughts about Mimi and Mumu's art style changes over the years. What do you guys think about them? Do you have a favorite one out of all 3? Let me know in the comment section. And thanks so much for watching this video. I just want to shout out my newest channel member, Julian EBN. Thanks so much for your support. If any of you want to be a channel member, check the link in my video's description. It's been Leamon Puppy. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys all next time.